Good morning, Western Washington, and happy Monday. I'm Matthew Fab with Western Washington Weather, and we've got a lot to talk about today as our first sort of fall system starts to move into the area. Going to bring some cooler temperatures, some rain through the week, and potentially some windy conditions to some parts of Western Washington as well. It'll definitely feel like fall this week, and let's take a look at that forecast. So starting here with the satellite imagery, you can see we have our system moving through the area right now. You can see all these clouds moving through, but what really helps explain that is the radar. You can see lots of rain moving through the coast there, some starting to move into the lowlands, and a lot of this is going to move through the lowlands as we go through this morning, so you'll want your raincoat this morning across the region. Our first significant rain in a while, so it'll be nice to have this move through the area, first of a few systems coming up this week. So starting here with the European model, you can see the troughing offshore. That continues all the way through this whole week. You see this deeper trough move toward the area here on Tuesday. That's going to bring more rain into the area and some wind as well, as this low pressure system just kind of hovers offshore and weakens and moves into Vancouver Island. You can see that's still there through Wednesday and then Thursday. And then that troughing starts to move out of the area with a brief ridge coming in as we go into Friday and Saturday. But then you can see we have this troughing moving down Alberta, British Columbia, down into Montana and Idaho and parts of eastern Washington as we go into Saturday. We'll have to see what this brings in terms of potentially any offshore flow or anything like that, with the front coming down to our east. So we're going to have to see what happens with this, and we'll have to see what happens with this ridging offshore, see if we get another drier stretch as we go into next week. But that's looking pretty far out in the forecast, so let's take a look at what we have coming up right now. Starting here, you can see our system moving through the area today, bringing rain at times through this evening, some showers going into Monday night. Then going into Tuesday morning, you can see mostly dry there on Tuesday morning, but then as we go to about midday into the afternoon, you get our next system moving onshore here, going to bring some gusty winds to the coastline, potentially up toward 50 miles per hour for some of the coast, and then also the northwest interior going to get pretty gusty as well. That rain moves into the area as we go into Tuesday evening, and then that rain continues with the convergence zone possible there Wednesday morning. That rain continues on the coast, showery in the lowlands as we go through Wednesday, and then we get more rain in the lowlands Wednesday and Thursday as that low pressure system moves into Vancouver Island, and you can see that rain continuing through the day Thursday, turning showery by Thursday night, and then we are just having some mountain showers on Friday. A dying front sort of reaches the north coast early Saturday morning, and then we do start to dry out a little bit. We may get some light showers across parts of the region on Saturday as well, and then by the time we get to Saturday evening, we are dry. So taking a look at total precipitation here on the European model, going through today, we'll stop this about tonight after that front moves through. And you can see there about 3/4 of an inch to an inch for the coast, except some areas down toward Long Beach getting maybe about a half inch or a little bit less than that. Then taking a look in the lowlands, you have a little bit of a rain shadow around Whidbey Island as usual. Areas from Mount Vernon northward getting 1/3 of an inch to a half inch, maybe up toward an inch near the Canadian border. And then from Mount Vernon down to Seattle, about 1/3 of an inch of rain, maybe up toward a half inch or so. You can see some areas in the South Sound like Tacoma and Gig Harbor and Olympia getting up over a half inch of rain, similar there on the Kitsap Peninsula. So some areas will get some decent rain out of this system, about 1/4 inch down toward Portland as well. So Seattle likely 1/3 of an inch to about 0.4 inches. So a decent storm. Then going into our next system, you can see how it builds up our totals as we go through Tuesday into Wednesday, bringing another half inch plus to all of Western Washington, the coast getting another inch of rain or so. And then as we continue here into Thursday, we have more rain coming into the area, bringing about another half inch to the Seattle metro area as we go into Thursday night into Friday morning, with some of those showers continuing. And this forecast here on the European model ends Saturday evening. So you can see through Saturday evening, European model showing 1 to 2 inches on the coast, maybe up toward 3 inches for the north coast. The Olympics getting up to 5 inches of rain, and take a look, even the Bear Gulch fire, they're getting over 3 inches. So that's really good to see. Total this week in Seattle, about 1.5 inches, an inch around Tacoma and Portland, and then up the I-5 corridor there, the Kitsap Peninsula, 1.5 inches or so. Areas from Seattle northward toward Bellingham, about 1 to 1.5 inches, except about a half inch in that Olympic Peninsula rain shadow, and then much more as you go up into Vancouver Island and Vancouver, BC, both those areas getting a decent amount of rain. And then take a look at the Cascades, 1.5 to 2.5 inches across the western slopes of the Cascades. Unfortunately, the fires don't get all that much, only getting about a half inch at most. You can see the Wildcat fire there likely getting an inch plus of rain, so that is good to see. But the Sugarloaf fire and Labor Mountain fire only getting a quarter inch or so because they're on the east side of the Cascades where that precipitation really has a hard time getting in. So we'll have to watch that closely going into next week as well. And then this is the national blend of models, more high resolution forecast going through Saturday evening as well. And you can see it shows a lot more rain on the northern coast, up to 4.5 inches. So we'll have to see if we do get these higher totals. And then you can see Kitsap Peninsula 1.75 to 2.5 inches out there. So this is a little bit more on the rain. And then you can see from Portland up to Olympia 1 to 1.5 inches. Same thing from Seattle, or from Olympia up through Seattle and Everett and Bellingham up toward Vancouver 1 to 1.5 inches, maybe a little bit more for Whatcom County. And then you can see the Cascades getting 2 to 4 inches in this forecast through the week. But again, fires on the east side not getting all that much. The Wildcat Fire likely getting an inch of rain versus Labor Mountain and Sugarloaf getting only about a quarter inch. So we have a lot to watch in terms of the fires coming up here and how much rain we get. I want to point out some wind gusts as well. As we go through today, you can see our system bringing gusts of about 40 miles per hour to the southern coast, 35 miles an hour to the rest of the area, and then up near Whidbey Island and the northwest interior, 30 to 35 miles per hour. But our next system comes in here through Tuesday into Wednesday morning, and you can see much stronger gusts on the coast there, 45 to 50 miles per hour there along the Washington coast, stronger winds just offshore up to 60 miles per hour. And then take a look here. A little bit of a gap wind, it looks like, for some parts of southern Washington. They're gusting up to 40 miles per hour around Chehalis and stuff like that. And then you can see 30 to 35 miles per hour for the interior lowlands there. And then from Everett northward, including Whidbey Island, Admiralty Inlet, San Juans, and Bellingham, gusting 40 to 45 miles per hour there on Tuesday. And then a stronger system for winds in the interior moves through as we go into Wednesday, bringing another round of 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts to the coast, 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts there for the northwest interior and Whidbey Island, and then 35 miles per hour or so for the lowlands, maybe up toward 37 to almost 40 for areas Tacoma southward. So at this time of year, these kind of winds aren't, these are run-of-the-mill winds for a winter storm, but at this time of year, they can cause tree damage and some isolated power outages because all the leaves are still fully on all the trees. So it's something to watch closely, and we'll keep watching the wind forecast over the next few days here to see how this plays out. I want to point out the smoke real quick. This is smoke aloft. You can see as we go through the day today, the fires are going to continue burning. You can see Wildcat and Labor Mountain there producing a decent amount of smoke. That blows off to the north, and then you can see as we go into Tuesday another day of some of those smoke plumes, but not as big because we're going to start getting some systems in here. Even though we won't get a ton of rain, it is going to dampen these fires a little bit because it's also going to get it's going to get cooler, and you're going to get some higher humidity. And then going into the surface smoke, you can see it's not very good across eastern Washington right now, and we'll look at that air quality in just a minute. Maybe a little bit of surface smoke very briefly across western Washington this morning as the front moves through, but you won't really notice that too much. And then you can see as we go through the afternoon today, a lot more smoke coming off those fires, causing some big air quality issues across eastern Washington. And then that continues a little bit as you go into Tuesday. You can see a little bit of surface smoke trying to make its way up for like Seattle northward going into Tuesday midday, but that moves out pretty quickly. Then you can see more surface smoke coming off those fires blowing to the north with the southerly winds as we go into Tuesday night, and then that starts to diminish as well as that more favorable weather for firefighting moves into the area. And again, most of that smoke coming off the Lower Sugarloaf Fire, Labor Mountain Fire, both these fires over 35,000 acres. Labor Mountain Fire continuing to grow just an extreme amount there to the east. And then also the Wildcat Fire here, a lot of heat on the northeast side of this fire, very, very close to Goose Prairie and some homes in there, unfortunately. So these three fires here, Wildcat, Labor Mountain, and Lower Sugarloaf, are the ones that are causing the most smoke here across parts of eastern Washington and even parts of western Washington too. And when we look at the air quality map, you can see that, and you'll be able to see there we have good air quality across western Washington, but look at where those fires are. You can tell how the smoke blows this way, how it settles in the valleys around Wenatchee and Leavenworth and stuff like that with some very unhealthy air quality there, some of the worst in the United States and the world. And then across eastern Washington, not very good air quality as well. So hopefully we'll see this clear up a little bit this week. And taking a look at temperatures this week as well, you can see mid-60s today. That's about where we remain. Some areas may get into the low 70s a couple days this week. The coast in the upper 50s to low 60s. And you can see we stay in the low to mid-60s going all the way through this week. So It'll definitely feel cooler, it'll definitely feel more like fall. Looking at morning low temperatures, you can see upper 40s to mid 50s across the region, and even the mountains getting down into the upper 30s to mid 40s. So that is good to see because that will really help the fires as you get those cooler temperatures in there. Some higher elevations even getting toward freezing, which is good to see because any cooler air and higher humidity will really help the fires. So we'll keep watching that as well. Also, if you want to stay warm, go and check out the Western Washington Weather merch store. We got some cool merch on there, including some hoodies and sweatshirts and stuff like that. Be great with the cooler weather coming in. And also, be sure to subscribe to Western Washington Weather. You can do that right here below the video. And then you can also follow the Western Washington Weather Facebook group, and then follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky to stay updated about all the weather coming up. So stay tuned, everyone. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.